We are in the home stretch of the 90-day New Year reboot, those last few weeks that round up the program and really make it complete with our last couple of habits. And today I want to address self-talk. How do you talk to yourself? And others talk. How do you talk to others about health, about wellness, about your path, about how are you doing this thing called healthy lifestyle? What is this thing that's called a healthy lifestyle? And I was listening to Roland. He just got interviewed at a writer's podcast. And it's a podcast that helps people publish themselves and get out there with their work. And Roland supports a lot of writers who are not particularly healthy. And it's just a part of the writer's life. You sit a lot, you write a lot, you spend a lot of time researching. And a lot of these things are happening at a desk, in a chair, in front of a computer. It's kind of a sedentary life, unless you consciously choose it to be otherwise. And his host was saying, it's really hard. It's really hard to eat on the road. It's really hard to make exercise a part of your daily life. It's really hard to cook everything from scratch. We did that for a while. We cooked everything from scratch with my wife, but then it just got too hard. It's too hard. And Roland had some really, really good ways to kind of reframe that and to bring the discussion back into something that's empowering, something that's going to give the skills to really make better choices. And I want to give you a couple of things to watch out for when you are thinking about your lifestyle, when you're thinking about the plans that you're making for your week, the habits that we have been teaching you, whether it's planning and shopping, whether it's preparing your meals from scratch, whether it's batch cooking, or it's taking dynamic breaks, or it's walking after meals, or it's making exercise a part of your life, or it's managing your sleep. What do you tell yourself? Do you tell yourself, that's really hard? And can you tell yourself in those times that you say, that's really hard, I don't have time, this is taking too much of my energy, can you think about reframing that question and instead asking yourself, what is the skill that I need to learn to make this easier? What is the lowest hanging fruit? What is the easiest, most accessible way for me to make that possible? And I'll give you an example. Say that you say something like, oh, it's really hard to take dynamic breaks. I'm gonna wait for that siren to go through. It's really hard to take dynamic breaks. Well, what is the skill that I need to learn in order to take dynamic breaks? Well, I need to know exactly what to do. So maybe on the weekend when I'm not at work, I'm going to practice taking those dynamic breaks throughout my day so that when I go to work on Monday and Tuesday, I can start to incorporate that. Maybe there's a couple of stretches or big moves, the things that I've posted so far as videos that you can practice and you can learn so that you can have the skill. Maybe you need to set a reminder on your phone or install one of those pieces of software on your computer that reminds you. What is a skill that you need to learn that will help you versus saying, oh, it's too hard. It's too hard. Because when you tell yourself that something is hard, A, you're talking yourself out of it. B, you're convincing yourself. You reason with yourself that it's okay to keep doing what you're doing, which is usually either nothing or you're already doing something that's detrimental. The second way that I'd like you to think of this is, what can you do less of? And what can you do more of? So if you say, oh, it's just, I'm going to use Roland's example from the interview. Oh, it's just so hard to cook from scratch. Okay, what can you do less of? Maybe I can do less fast food. Maybe I'm going to eat fast food twice a week instead of every day. What can I do more of? Maybe I can chop more vegetables on the weekend. Those things, when you think in skill, when you think in action, when you think in what are some practical ways you can take steps, it's so much more empowering than saying, oh, it's hard. Is it? It's just not something that you're good at yet because you haven't practiced. It's just like playing a musical instrument. Those of you who play a musical instrument, you know in the beginning it doesn't sound very good. How did you become good? Through practice. And then you got to enjoy it. And you got to enjoy the ride. Those of you like me who had to learn a foreign language, I mean, when I first started learning English, it was a struggle. It was horrendous. I was learning like 100 words a day, and that wasn't fast enough because I wanted to make big sentences, but I couldn't. I had to write and I had to read word by word first. And the same way, maybe these new habits that you're practicing, there's still some old habits of thinking and talking to yourself and talking to others about what you're doing that are just slipping through the cracks. Maybe there's certain things that you say and think that are in your way. But the more you practice the skills, even the smallest skill, the better you get, the smoother it's going to get. So, what are those things that you can do? What are those skills that you can learn? And how can you catch yourself in your language being really not very helpful to yourself or to others? Oh, it's really hard. Start catching yourself. Oh, I don't have time. Oh, if only I didn't have to drive my kids around. Whatever it is that you say to yourself, stop it. Analyze it. Hear it. And let's say this. I notice that I have a thought that this is hard. But I'm also going to ask myself, what are the skills that I need in order for this to become easier? Even if right now it feels like you're playing a piece of music not so well, how are you ever going to get better without practicing? And we're all bombarded, literally bombarded by media messages and social networking and friends' pressure to do things that are extreme, to do things that are, oh, just do this thing for 2 weeks with me and it's only $400. I don't care what the thing is. Nothing that you do for 2 weeks is going to change the way that you have been relating to yourself. So how are you going to relate to yourself differently? And if you start catching yourself talking to yourself or others about how hard it is and how you don't have time, stop it. And I'm repeating this a second time because it's so incredibly important. Receive this opportunity to learn a new skill. Use us as your sounding board as to what those skills are. And let's make this easier. So here's your task. Just in the next couple of days, be aware of how you relate to yourself and how you relate to others in relationship to your goals right now and to the habits that you're practicing. And if you find yourself slipping, where it's like, oh, I just don't have time, ask yourself, what is the skill that I need? What can I do that is practical, that is possible, that is manageable right now to make this easier on myself and to make it possible? And that's it. If you're interested in that interview with Roland, I found it incredibly helpful. I've posted it on the Facebook page and I'm also going to attach it here. Share with us, use us as your support. How do you catch yourself talking to yourself or others about your healthy lifestyle? Do you catch yourself saying, oh my God, I can't wait to go home and cut my peppers so I have fantastic omelets up to Wednesday? I can't wait to go to the store and get all these ingredients that are going to help me on my plan. This really feels great, eating the way we're supposed to. This really feels great taking dynamic breaks. My back feels all loose and open. Do you say more of this kind of stuff? Or do you say more of the old kind of thinking that got you in a place where you weren't relating in a healthy way to yourself? We are our best allies and helpers. We can also be our greatest saboteurs when the autopilot takes over and we just slip back into our normal kind of mode of life. And guess what? If you're just floating on the river, it's taking you wherever the river wants to take you. You need to be holding your boat in your own two hands so you can direct where you want to go. There's a really good saying, you can steer a moving ship. So as long as you're moving in the right direction, we're going to help you navigate and steer along. So that's it. Today's message is catch your own self-talk. And how can you change that in order to support a healthy lifestyle? I look forward to completing the 90-day reboot together. Super excited. Thank you all for being a part of it. Excited about the new reboot coming up. More information on our webpage, thefitting.com/90-day reboot. Talk to you soon.